Hello and welcome to another episode in the Haunted History series. We're here at Blenkinsop, and Blenkinsop Castle wasn't included in my castle tour last year as I was unable to gain access to it. So it's quite fortunate that I can give it some attention this time. Although Blenkinsop has a Carlisle postcode, it is firmly in Northumberland, about 4 miles west of Haltwhistle. The name Blenkinsop comes from a Celtic Cumbrian origin. Blain meaning top and kin meaning ridge, and combined means the top of the ridge. Later the Anglo-Saxon word hop or hoff meaning valley was added, so completing the name Blenkinsop, the valley at the top of the ridge. As with most of the castles here, the family who owned the land here took their name from the place. The castle you see here today is a private residence. It was built in 1339 by a Ralph Blenkinsop, who erected a substantial tower and was given permission to crenellate it as a defence against Scottish incursion. The haunted story that we're here to explore today goes back 200 years before that, to the time of Richard I, Richard the Lionheart, during the period of the Crusades. At that time, Brian de Blenkinsop lived in a fortified manor house built here, and he vowed he would only marry if his wife to be could provide a dowry of a chest of gold so heavy it would take 10 servants to carry it. Blenkinsop went off to fight in the Crusades alongside Richard and found such a wealthy bride on his travels. She was reported to be a beautiful Persian princess. He married her and brought her back here with the chest of gold and several of her servants. It was well known that Blenkinsop was a very possessive, greedy and cruel man and did not treat his new bride very well. The difference in culture and age added to the detriment of the marriage, and there was frequent fights between them. The princess decided she would hide the chest of gold to punish her husband, and ordered her servants to hide it in a secret vault somewhere beneath the castle. Soon after, Blenkinsop and his bride mysteriously vanished, leaving their servants behind. The servants claimed the princess was a child of darkness sent to punish Blenkinsop for his greed. No gold was ever found, and over time became completely forgotten for over 700 years until the early 1800s. By then, Blenkinsop was a castle in ruins. The habitable rooms were occupied by farm labourers. One night, horrendous screams were heard coming from the adjacent room where the son of this farm labourer slept. The son, a boy of about 8 years, was terror-struck, shaking, sweating, and pointing to the door saying, the lady, the white lady." The parents frantically searched the rooms and the ruins outside, but could find nothing. The boy then described that this woman dressed in white, who looked very beautiful, had sat on the end of his bed, taken his hand and asked him to go with her, that she would make him a very, very rich man. that she had buried a box containing gold many hundred years before, and she could not rest while it was hidden there. The boy then explained how he had screamed in fright and scared her away. The boy's parents were sensible, down-to-earth people, and so put the experience down to just a bad dream. They pacified the boy and got him to sleep, thinking that that was the end of it. However, 3 nights in a row, exactly the same thing happened. The boy would not sleep on his own anymore and would only sleep in his parents' room. Now, you might think that's pretty far-fetched, and there's no factual backup to support that, although it is a well-known legend. But from time to time, people still turn up here, stating to have had the same dream and come looking for the gold. Now, there's a castle inn right next door, so that is possible that people sleeping in that inn may be visited by the same ghost. Who knows? The White Lady has not been seen for the last 50 years, and no evidence of the gold or the whereabouts of the vault have ever been found. The present castle that you can sort of see around me was built on top of the original manor building, supposedly where the gold was buried. Then it would be right to assume that it would be underneath one of these buildings somewhere. Nothing short of an entire excavation of the whole area, demolishing everything, would solve this mystery. And I can't see that happening anytime soon. Featherston Castle was included in my castle series last year, so I don't want to go over the history again now, but I did want to include the ghost story in this haunted history series. The true facts in this story are that the Featherston family, who lived here as barons in the 1500s, were in an ongoing feud with the Ridley family, who lived nearby. On the 24th of October 1530, Richard Ridley murdered Nicholas Featherston Hoff. The succeeding baron decided to try and end the feud between the families by offering his daughter Abigail to Richard Ridley in marriage. She despised Ridley and refused to marry him. More deaths ensued in the years ahead from further quarrels, and eventually unable to stop the proceedings, Abigail was forced to marry Ridley. Abigail was in love with a local herdsman and had secretly planned on running away with him, knowing that her father would never approve of their marriage, especially now so intent on her union with Ridley. The ceremony went ahead in the grandeur of Featherston Castle, as you can see there behind me. And it was customary in medieval wedding celebrations that the wedding party would go out on a hunt. The successful kill would bring sustained good luck to the newly married couple. The wedding party set off from the castle and headed into the woodland. Waiting in the woodland was Abigail's lover, ready to spring an ambush. As the wedding party rode by, the young herdsman brought down Ridley's horse and a fight ensued. He was no match for Ridley, and he drew his sword and lunged it towards the herdsman, who was now lying on the ground. Abigail, anticipating what was about to happen, threw herself in front of her lover, and Ridley's sword went straight through her gut. In that moment of horror, Ridley, realising what he'd done, stepped back, and that gave the herdsman a moment to draw his dagger. He then plunged it into Ridley's neck, killing him instantly. Then, turning to Abigail and seeing his love there lying bleeding to death, the herdsman was totally bereft and thrust the dagger into his own chest, piercing his heart. He lay with her, embracing her, and they both bled to death in each other's arms. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Abigail's father, the Baron, was puzzled as to why the wedding party hadn't returned and sent out servants at dusk to find them, but no trace could be found. They returned to the castle, and then around midnight, the sound and sight of horses galloping between the trees and the castle was seen, but these were ghostly images, not the actual wedding party, and there was no sign of Ridley or the herdsman. As the ghosts of the wedding party entered the courtyard, they dismounted their horses and entered the castle and disappeared up the staircase. And that legend has survived for hundreds of years. Except that more recent stories are that on the anniversary of the wedding, each year at midnight, the same ghosts galloping on horseback have appeared between the trees and the castle. Now, if you're in the vicinity of the castle or in the castle grounds itself, there is certainly an uneasy feel about it. Well, that's it for this episode of the Haunted History series. And unfortunately, it'll probably be the last in the series, at least for the foreseeable future. The Haunted History series just hasn't had the viewer numbers that the other work that I do has. So that's it for now. I'm not saying it's the end forever. Obviously, if people write to me with ideas and suggestions of things that they would want me to continue with, then I would do that. But for the time being, I'm drawing a line under it and concentrating on the other projects that I've already outlined in my bulletin. So I'll bid you farewell, and I'll see you once again very soon.